Okay, it's 9 o'clock. If we could call the meeting to order, and Deborah, if you would take roll call, please.
Absolutely. Ring,
Here.
Star,
Here.
Castile,
Here.
Hines,
Here.
Jennings,
Here.
Singh is excused, and Byron.
Here.
Next is the approval of the regular meeting of the minutes of the September 23rd, 2025 meeting. Anyone have any changes? If not, we'll consider them approved. Anything on members' forum?
So there are no in-person forum speakers and there are no Zoom speakers. That concludes the member forum.
Okay. Chair's report. I just have one statement I want to make. At the September RWC board meeting, I was very disappointed to see that the proposal that the Finance Committee passed at their September meeting regarding the MTF fees was not included in the package to the board members or included on the big screen. The proposal, in my opinion, the proposal that the Finance Committee passed are not provided to the RWC board. I am not sure what the purpose of this Finance Committee is.
Thank you.
With that, I'll move on. Jeff, any comments?
No comment today.
Okay. Todd's out. Amanda, financials?
Yeah, so Todd's out and I am going to go through the financials. So the first one displayed on the screen is the property management financials, January through September. Revenue is pacing ahead of budget by 175,000. Expenses are under budget, primarily coming from salaries, wages, as well as the pace, as well as professional services a little under, some other key categories, but overall, a net income of $491,876, which is above budget by 492, so slightly.
Are we expecting to give some of that, all of that, most of that back by the end of the year? Or any idea, Amanda, where you think we'll be?
I know your room's not here. I know that obviously the winter months pace a little slower on our billable services to the mutuals, but I would think that some of it, for sure. Next is.
Any questions on the RPM? Okay.
Next is RWC. Let's see if I can make this bigger. There we go. So again, revenues are pretty much on par to budget through September. Areas that are ahead of budget are going to be the media revenue and as well as our other revenue. So that includes some handyman. We did receive the bus grant in last month, so that's looking much better than it was.
Amanda?
Yes.
I wanted just to ask a question about the handyman revenue. Do you accrue for the revenue that we have in that, or is it just as the residents pay?
Yeah, so we do amortize the handyman service over a 12-month period. But it is depend on when the contracts come in. So it's kind of, it rolls each month, but it is amortized over a 12-month schedule, which is the length of the handyman contracts.
So there really shouldn't be seasonality per se in that.
There is a little bit because depending on, a lot of people sign up when they first move in. So it kind of trends with the move-ins, but usually, and then therefore they renew at the same time every year. So there is some fluctuation, but it's not major fluctuations.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Question or a comment
Sure.
on landscape maintenance, 73,060. It says repair trees, screens, fairways. We've had only $3,000 and it was budgeted was like 140. obviously that's due to seasonality. Because I know that we fixed the greens and I know we fixed the tees, but I guess this hasn't shown up as being done yet.
Right, I know that during the summer months, Blake tries to put that off and there's certain, he knows far better than I do.
Sure.
Certain times of
Yeah.
when to put fertilizer out. Briefly looking at October, I think he's had some more spend in that
Oh, yeah.
category for sure. He tries to time it not
Right.
to be the most effective time of year,
So
but
that's another good case why we go to the seasonal.
correct.
Next year.
Mhm.
It does look.
So overall expenses are looking under budget for a net income through September showing at 992,000.
The other, can I make one more comment on? The only other one that is a concern, I think we've talked about, and it's been in the paper, is the water.
Correct.
You know, it's like 140% of budget. And we've heard in the newspapers why that's generally happening. And so that, to me, is a big concern. We ought to put on our list as something that is that probably is on our list, right? And one of those things that we focus on.
It is definitely an ongoing focus, and when we talk about capital budget next year, there is some drought mitigation stuff. All of it is, you know, minimal compared to the overall expense, but it's been a long process of doing projects throughout the last several years. We are seeing the impact of the water-cooled ACs going to air-cooled, and the amount of water we can take out of the creek, because it was a fairly wet winter last year. So I think this is probably going to be the new norm.
Correct. And I noticed that we decided to not do something with ourselves, but go more with the Walnut Creek or any big plans or for the.
So
On
we've
the water reclamation.
Yeah, we've continued to kind of advocate for a more regional solution. Just the cost of the satellite recycling facility was skyrocketing, and you know, the reliability of that infrastructure right now just it seemed more appropriate to continue to advocate for regional solutions.
Okay, so one of the other larger areas to point out is just that trust facilities maintenance line. That's the line that we're moving to the trust capital next year. But I do believe that we will likely spend the remainder of what's there in the budget.
Cheryl, what,
Just a question, is there some way we can, I mean, maybe not every single report, but from time to time get a report that itemizes what's in that account?
In the trust maintenance?
Yeah.
And you will start to see that a little more detailed within the monthly reports that we do in capital once we have that budgeted for next year.
Thank you.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, okay.
Yep. Any other questions on RWC? The next is the trust. So beginning the month at 10,271,000, but we collected, I believe that's 35 membership fees, 3 of which were financed. We have a little bit of interest income. Then the expenditures are listed there for each of the capital projects. And a few pieces of machinery and equipment came in. And then we have our our payments for our 3 loans, ending the month with cash of 10,640,000, let's call it 47,000. And then this lists the loans that are still outstanding and the receivables for the finance membership fee.
I had one question.
Sure.
I was interested, the interest income up there for us is $256,000. Is it a rough ballpark as to what interest rate we're getting on those?
Yeah, as of last month, the interest rate is around 4%.
So 4%, and that's
That's on,
basically an average of the year to date, or just what the current month is, or how does that work?
so it's a yearly
Okay.
average.
And then I go down to bank interest of 274,000.
That,
On average, what's our total interest percent we're paying?
I believe, one of the loans is around 5. I believe one's at a little under 4. I don't know them off the top of my head, but
The other one's around 6.
6.
So,
5 and 6.
so let's just say it's 5 or so, right? So we're making 4 and we're paying 5.
Mhm.
You ever do any analysis to decide what's the right balance between how many times we need to go out and loan, what the current interest rate is, and do we really need the loan, or we just take the money out of our interest that we're making?
I mean, certainly there's a lot of banking analysis that Todd's initiating with our brokerage teams at Mechanics Bank, and then on the mutual side with CNB. But certainly, now we're gonna have some decisions to make as to, which loans we keep and pay off. But I think that has kind of been wanting to be in tandem with the other funds coming.
In addition, David, we have $4 million going out, getting ready to go out for pickleball, $4+ million plus another.
Yeah, I
So-
know it goes up and down, I'm just
Right,
saying
right.
as a strategy.
Right.
Do we really need to pay loans 4 or 5 years, whatever it is, versus using some of our money, not making below where we need to have it at any time, but just the concept of
I think
what you
before,
pay versus what you get.
I'm assuming, and all the loans were taken out before my time, and I'm assuming the analysis was done before all those loans. They were done for major projects like the event center, the fitness center, and I don't know what the third one was for. Creekside. So they were major projects, and I'm assuming they just didn't want to spend all the cash.
They were all 15-year loans.
Yeah, but if you go back the last 30 years, has it always been that way, that the amount of interest we're paying for loans is roughly a little bit higher than what we're getting?
Well, I'm assuming about 4 or 5 years ago, when the interest rates were 0, they were a lot. And I'm assuming if we went back when the interest rates were 9 or 10%, we were actually making money. But so it just depends on what kind of interest we're making on because our investments have to be secure, conservative.
Right.
And so therefore, we're not going out and getting jump bonds at a higher rate because we can't take that risk. So we got to stay at the lower risk stuff. But your question is good. Yeah,
I'm just trying to get
good conversation.
understanding of why we're doing certain things. Because I'm a new guy.
Good
And
conversation.
I'm just trying to see where we're going.
Good
And I
conversation.
think this is all going to sort of change if the medical center goes through, the sale of that goes through. Obviously, then we're going to be sitting with a very, essentially a white sheet, right? A blank sheet of paper and say, okay, how do we want to organize all the various different capital flows, et cetera? And so I think that's going to be a discussion topic for us very much in the next 6 months.
Anything else on the financials, on the trust side especially, we just went through? Okay, thanks, Amanda.
For sure.
And I guess you're next. And I have one copy down here if anyone wants a hard copy.
Computer or am I sharing?
Share.
Anyone want a
I
hard
have it
copy?
up.
Okay, yeah, we'll just do that.
If you don't mind.
No, it'll be easier. Super. So I'll just review some of the active projects, but overall, everything is on track. We have no surprises with cost or anything. We're all on budget with everything. But with the pavement program, you'll see that, and mind you, this was presented at the planning committee meeting. So the paving that was planned at Golden Ring Road, it was rained out for those days, and we're trying to plan it for November. So stay tuned for some next level about that. as we move down the sheet here, pickleball, we are actively under construction. We have the fencing. We actually delayed it just to make sure we could get the big tournaments like done with before we put the fencing on there. So the fencing is there, as is one of their trailers, and they've started to do their
And I have a very
tree
serious
clearing
question. I hit a golf ball in the fence. How do I get it back?
Should we collect them?
That's how we're funding.
That's how you're funding.
We're selling those.
That's how you're funding the pickleball facility.
I want to say, like, there was a funny joke saying they're already hitting balls at us, but it's okay. Yeah,
But the only good news about that for golfers, and we checked it with Pro Shop, is they play that like we do 15, where you're not allowed to go up that hill because we don't want anybody falling down. So when your ball goes in 15, bring it down to where it was
Oh, cool.
on the fairway
Nice.
with no penalty.
No, you
And the
can't.
same, if your ball goes in over the net, you get to drop a
Well,
ball where it went over, no penalty.
But they're changing, that's,
You don't get your ball back.
right.
But the big thing is, if you want, I think, winning the hole is probably more important than getting your ball back.
We'll be going to the temporary green.
Yeah, so currently, since we have golfers in the room, so the first phase that they're working on right now is the relocation of the irrigation line. Once that's complete, the fencing kind of moves closer to the parking lot. So we don't have to have quite a sweep as is there now. But that's all going well. And there'll be some notices coming out in the paper and some emails to everyone. We already notified the board, so I'll let people know that we do have a groundbreaking scheduled for Friday the 14th at 10 a.m. Just a real little celebration that here we are. We're well on our way, and we're working with the pickleball club to host a little reception after. A lot of the remainder of the projects are kind of on hold, like deferred into 2026 or complete, but I'm happy to answer any questions or hear more golf stories.
Any questions for Ann? If not, we'll move on to the MTF activity. Jeff, are you presenting that?
So for this month here in September, excuse me, we had 35 sales, produced fees. So we saw a bit of a small uptick from last year. Our total year to date at 291 of fee producing compared to 303 last year. But our total revenue is slightly up due to the $500 increase. We are continuing to see a significant number of transactions that are not generating the fee. Either these are being purchased from existing members or people moving to Waterford, or it could be that investors for flippers are securing those, and we'll see a significant amount later. Some of these also continue to reflect what is going on in the larger real estate market outside. Just people need to be able to sell, have the cash in order to move in, and sales outside of Rossmore nationwide are continuing to be down. So what happens in here is very much reflective of the current industry, but encouraging that we're up slightly over last year.
So looking at this, it seems like 12 of them were transfers. Am I reading that correctly?
So we had 16 total exemptions.
Trust was 4.
So that would, yes.
It's all 16 are, it says new and previously paid, which sort of implies to me that 16 of them
Down at the bottom.
were
Yeah.
Whatever those means.
transfers. Does seem rather high.
Mhm. It seems to be an upward trend that we're seeing.
So the question I have is, if you go back up top, we're on pace to be, I guess we're ahead of last year, so no, on sales, fees, we're 12 behind, and I think we got 399 last year was our total, if I remember correctly, because we just missed the 451. We're assuming we're leaving the 400 okay for this year, but what, anyone thoughts about 2026? Do we think the 400 is still attainable? Because that has a big impact on the next slide we're gonna see, especially with the fees going up to 18,000 effective April 1st. Is that the correct date? Which could have an impact also, who knows? Any thoughts on that? How do we address that going forward on the next slide?
Has any progress been made on showing which mutuals are being sold more rapidly than others? The ones that they, how is the fees coming in by mutual?
To the best of my knowledge, no. It's still on the wish list. It just hasn't been moved with everything else going on. It hasn't been moved to the top of the list yet, to the best of my knowledge. Jeff, I don't know if they.
I don't have anything additional to add. I know they're wanting to track that. We are seeing sales pretty much across the mutuals, though. It's the co-ops and condos are selling equally. I don't think there's a high focus area, but having more specific on which mutuals are actually accounting for it, we don't have that yet.
Okay. Well, I think it's something we need to be considering with the 400, whether we think we're gonna make that in 2026 or not. Because we can talk about that on the next slide. Anything else on this? Yeah, sure.
One question, on the transfers here, where you have the current members, is there, I guess there's really, we've tried before to drill down and get some more information. You know, how many people are buying a new unit? How many people are moving to Waterford? Are they flippers, as they're called? Is there any way of diving down into that data to get more information? Because I think that's really important.
We should be able to just ask Waterford, how many people moved in this year? How many people moved in from there?
I don't know if we'll know where they moved in from. Did they move in from outside or from another Rossmore unit? That's,
They don't know that?
I don't know. Mary, you live there?
Member records will know. Member
Yeah.
records will know.
Oh,
I
okay.
mean, like, I moved in for 5 months because when I bought my place, it took 5 months to refinish it. So I moved into Waterford. And they said, well, why are you here? And I said, well, I'm waiting for my house to get finished. So I think they knew. I mean, the real estate agent obviously knew. She recommended me to go to Waterford.
David, we've been asking for this information for 6, 9, 12 months. It's on the list. We're trying to get it.
I think it's important though, because it deals with the 400 units and everything else.
I don't know what to tell you. We've been trying to get that type of information. At the same time, we were going through the NetSuite implementation. And right now, there's other things on the NetSuite implementation, like a balance sheet and some of those things that are more important than this, but it is very important. I do agree, and we have to get it as soon as we can. I don't know what else to say, except we should bring it up every month until we get it.
All right.
Although I will say that
Deal.
ultimately, I am not concerned.
Well,
Because
glad you're not.
I would like fast, I would like fast, I would like fast and
Community is
justified.
driven by its demographics. The average age is 77. That means you've got a life expectancy of 10 to 15 years. That means the house will turn over at a particular rate. And so the houses here will sell or will be put up for sale at a rate that's driven by our demographics. That's what's pushing it. It's not demand from outside, it's the supply is constant. Okay, and I mean, sounds very cold-blooded to say it this way, but that's the reality of it. And so the houses will come on the market for sale. What their price will be will depend on what the market is outside.
So the demand may not be constant, but the supply is.
The supply will be constant, the price will drop to match demand and supply. That's the way economics works.
In theory.
And, you know, and will be charged. So it will fluctuate, but I have a hard time believing that it will change dramatically from what the demographics
A
require.
very long history of sales shows that this is kind of the low point. And there is that constant. What we see is that the pace of where the homes come on market, sometimes they're held until the market improves, or sometimes we see more investors because it's a good opportunity. But the actual pace of sales were years and years of history being above or at 400.
But having more information would be.
Yeah,
Sure.
helpful.
yeah.
Agreed. Okay, anything else on this? I'm assuming there's no NetSuite project update or?
The main push right now is on the work order system, and that's been brought online, and that is taking quite a bit of time to work out any bugs, but that's the main push right now is the work order system.
So is that actually up and running?
It is
at
up
this
and
point?
running at this point. It's
So if I put in a work order today, it's going to be through that system.
yes.
Great.
Okay, any update from the planning committee? No, okay. I don't think we have any unfinished business, new business, the 8A. I don't know who's doing that, Ann or Jeff?
I'll do that, but could you bring up that
Absolutely.
masterful spreadsheet on that one?
Where am I focusing in on?
We'll wait until, let me give my intro and then
Oh,
Jeff can guide them around based on the conversation. So as everyone's aware that we completed our food and beverage study, we vetted out our different operator candidates. And so as we're preparing to negotiate the lease agreement, we're seeking approval for an allocation from the capital budget not to exceed $625,000. That'll be baked into the lease, and that's for to support the renovation and the opening capital costs. So it'll be like restricted to capital costs, things like bar and kitchen equipment, dining room furniture and finishes, professional design services, and then the contingencies related to those. And then we're going to, be explicit in the lease, defining the use, of those funds. And so we've been also incorporating it into the capital budget, the capital model that we have that we've been reporting. We put some of the funding in there, and Jeff has had it in this financial model, and it does, based on the projections, the cash flow would be able to support that.
Can you give a timeline of when do you expect, have you made your final decision yet? When it's gonna be notified, when the lease negotiations, and when do you think, 'cause it sounds, to spend $500,000 in the next 60 days sounds awfully aggressive. I don't think we'll spend any of it this year, but maybe I'm wrong.
We will, because when you're thinking about equipment of any kind, you have to order it now, and with that, you have sort of major deposits.
Have you selected the vendor yet?
So we are still working with the board on evaluation and negotiation. We had 4 responses to the RFP, so that evaluation is kind of ongoing right now. So we do not have an announcement at this point, but we are working on refining the lease agreement, which will include this element of the tenant improvement resources.
So the amount,
So some of it definitely will go into 2026 in terms of the spend.
Jeff, the amount approved is not contingent on the vendor selected?
No.
We know what we're gonna do regardless of
Yeah.
what their ideas might be.
And part of that was part of the evaluation by synergy with the types of things that we know need to, be replaced and whatnot.
I
So
would push
it's,
back on that. If the vendor you select says, I need 800,000, you guys are just gonna say, sorry, we're doing 600 and that's it?
that was all disclosed as part of the
Okay,
RFP,
so
that
they've
there
already
would be
been
a limit.
disclosed. Okay, thank you.
And now we're leasing out the property. So part of the lease income essentially repays this over time. Do we account for it that way or not?
So we haven't accounted for it that way. The lease income currently is in the operating budget and it accounts for utilities and a few other things, but it's traditionally been in the operating budget, the revenue.
So it's, yeah, okay.
That might be something that we consider because technically, yes, it does.
Yeah,
cover
but
some of
technically
that.
you are retrieving your
Yeah.
capital. It's a loan repayment. in
Yeah,
effect.
there should be some sort of amortization.
I mean, not that it's a huge amount, but anyway,
Gap is gap.
So if we can go through the spreadsheet a little bit here, this is what we looked at previously when we talked about the MTF fees. But you can see that our beginning balance for 2025 was 10,116,000. We have shown the expense under food and beverage capital project of the 500,000. Some of that is our fees for synergy, and then 250,000 carrying over into 2026. What that final balance ends up being between 25 and 26, we'll see how that plays out. In this cash flow, though, we do account for pretty much all of our known expenses from the very top. We're looking at our pavement program and our building finishes and some other just ongoing capital maintenance. We have our machinery and equipment estimate in there. Between 25 and 26, we don't know exactly how that's going to play out payment-wise. Most of it will drop into 26, but we have the cost for pickleball accounted for. We're still doing the research on the RWC admin relocation. That's in association with the sale of the medical center. Again, as we just talked about, the food and beverage amount that we're asking you to authorize today. We're accounting for some studies for the lawn bowling turf. This will be, all of these things in 26 will be brought back as part of the 26 budget, but these are placeholders. We're planning on doing the lake liner initial study in 26. The golf bridges is accounted for at 600,000. Golf course water conservation projects, 150,000, and some landscape. So this is not a final list. We also account for the 850,000 in the RWC facility and property maintenance that was brought over from operating. As you go down to the revenue portion of it, I have it at 17,000 because it goes up to 14 in January 1 and then 17 April 1. That averages out to 17 for the year. And then it goes up by 1,000 each year. I still have the 400. That's something you can debate. But you can see the available cash balance right now is 2,587,000. The target is to maintain at least a cash balance of 2 million. We still have the reserve going up to 4 million in 26. We still have some funding in the medical center deposits that we're working on in order to fund the studies that we're doing up above. So in pretty healthy condition going into 26, accounting for all of those preliminary expenses to kind of demonstrate that right now we do have the funding balance to pay out in the first quarter, both the pickleball project as well as the tenant improvements that we're asking you to approve today. I can answer any questions.
Is there a breakdown of what these are? I'm a little uncomfortable just approving $625,000 without understanding what it's buying.
So it is a little bit out there, but what we're really asking the finance committee to do is say yes or no, we have the funding available to do that. We are obviously working with the board on what that would include. These are capital improvements, tenant improvements. Once we have a vendor selected and we go through and we kind of meet with their architect and their vision and their setup of the kitchen, it's mainly gonna be appliances in the kitchen and reformatting that. It's gonna be things like flooring and other improvements within the restaurant. Those aren't exactly defined yet because it depends on what the operator that comes in, what their vision is as well. So they will be supplying us with their improvements that they need in order to operate that will be approved by the board, and then those funds are available to expend.
And again, why does this need to be approved now versus?
Because we will start to expend these almost immediately.
How can you don't have an agreement with anyone? Yes. Are you gonna pick out the flooring?
We expect to have an agreement by the end of the month.
So by the end of November or
By
October?
Friday?
We expect, we're meeting with the board in executive session, and we expect that they will have a selection
By the end of October,
by the end of October.
which is Friday.
And this sort of goes to the purpose of this committee, which is to say, do we have the money or don't we?
That's
Can we go
exactly it.
Whereas the planning committee and board gets to decide, yeah, we should spend it on A or B. I realize that's,
Yeah, I
You
think
know, I
that's a
realize
little
that's-
broad. I
yeah,
mean,
I understand it's a little broad, but I'm just saying that's the.
Well, I'm also, can you go back up, Deborah, please? So we're saying, I'm sorry, 2006, we have 6-7 to start. And we're gonna spend $1 million on pickleball and 600,000, so that's gonna be down in the first, for Jeff, in the first 60 days. That's gonna put us down to 4-1 with a $4 million reserve. We'll have $100,000 left minus what income comes in for sales, but January and February are typically very slow. I don't think we can, unless you're willing to go below the $4 million reserve, we can't do it all in the first quarter. And
I don't see it.
So all of these expenses are not first quarter, you're
I only
talking,
took two, Jeff. I took the 6-7, and I took the $1 million for pickleball.
which 6-7 are you referring
I'm
to?
sorry, maybe, what's the top number? I can't, can you make it?
6-7,
It is
beginning balance.
Beginning balance for
Beginning
2000,
balance.
for
Okay,
2026.
but that beginning balance is assuming that we're spending $3,684,000 out of the 10 million for pickleball already.
But if we don't
But-
spend it in 2025, we'll spend it in the first quarter of 2026.
And that beginning fund balance would be higher.
Right, but then we'd still end up at 6-7. If we'd be at 9 and we spend more 3 million, so we're at 6-7, we owe $1 million for pickleball, that's 5-7.
Right.
And we owe 600,000, I'm sorry, you got 500,000, you only got 500,000 in there, so I guess it's okay, 6-7 minus $1.2 million is 4-5, 5-5. That's only a
Thank you.
million, what's a million?
You do math.
I got it, I corrected myself,
You did.
5-5. Yeah, okay. So it's there, 6-7 minus the extra million for pickleball and the extra, because he's got the 500,000 in there in 2025 for the food and beverage. He's only got 250 left. Whether it goes in 25
Yeah, I
or
know,
26 is
I know.
irrelevant, because we start with a higher balance and spend less, spend more.
Right.
So
It's there,
It's there, but,
it's there.
okay.
I would like to ask, this is a little bit off of that topic. So if this means that at the end of 2026, there's 2.5 million, that means that we couldn't do any other projects. Like if there was another pickleball out there, we wouldn't be able to afford such a thing for 3 or 4 years.
Well, this 26 isn't approved yet, so we don't know exactly. There's a few things certainly that are gonna tinker. As you look into 27, we maintain the kind of that 1,600,000, we're growing that by 5% across the top for capital maintenance rehab projects. We're continuing and growing by 5% the machinery and equipment. You're looking at, we have plugged in a plug number for lawn bowling turf conversion of 1,200,000. We're looking at the golf lake liner at $1 million. So we're accounting for some very significant projects, and you still at the bottom are seeing that your fund balance is growing. So there is quite a bit of discretion. Now, if you look at projects identified in the facilities master plan, that list at the very bottom, we haven't started to plug in any of those. That's something that we need to work through with planning. Those need to get defined and updated. And that will definitely impact your fund balance across the bottom as we address some of those major projects. But in terms of our ongoing projects in our facilities, upkeep and maintenance, we are accounting for all of that in this plan. Did I answer your question?
That makes sense.
Any further discussion? I mean, under Adrian's comment, we should be telling the board that we have 600, that we all have the $625,000 to spend.
But just because I have $500 in my pocket doesn't mean I hand it over to somebody and say, go buy me stuff.
That's the board's decision, right?
That is exactly how the structure is kind of set up, where you have the planning committee talks about the projects and the scope. You have the finance committee authorizing, saying we have the funding to do that. At your approval, the board is approving the scope. This is an agreement that is still in the works. I understand it's frustrating because you don't see the entire list of everything.
I don't see anything.
You don't see, yes, but this is a lease that is confidential at this time.
Understood.
Does anyone want to make a motion?
So I'd like to move that the finance committee recommend to the board to approve the spending of $625,000 for the renovation of Creekside Kitchen.
Is there,
Or for the food and
Would you
beverage.
say tenant improvements instead of Creekside Kitchen?
is there a second?
Second.
Okay. I'd like to discuss that. Can you read that motion? Can
Who
you?
is the second?
Me.
Thank you.
Sorry.
So what I have is the finance committee recommends to the board spending $625,000 for the tenant improvements of Creekside.
To me, that sounds like we're telling them to spend it on this stuff. If we can word it to say, we have enough cash that you can do it, that's what we're really, because we know nothing about what they're spending on how they're spending it. So that sounds like we're approving the tenant improvement of $625,000, which we haven't seen. I don't
I agree with
like
you.
that.
I agree with you.
I mean, we can,
Well, let me amend my motion,
Okay.
okay? The finance committee acknowledges that RWC can afford to spend $625,000 on tenant improvements
For the food and beverage.
for the food and beverage.
So rather than saying we can afford, could we say that we have the cash available to?
Okay? I'll accept Kim's adjustment to my adjustment.
Okay, I
Read that
didn't get
back.
the full motion. What I have is the finance committee recommends to the RWC, well, you didn't even say that, acknowledges that the RWC has the cash available to spend $625 on tenant improvement.
From the capital fund.
For the food and beverage stuff.
at the Creekside Restaurant in
But I mean, do we
2025,
need to say
26.
Creekside? It's not necessarily all at Creekside, is it? It's all at Creekside.
It actually should be lowercase r. It's the restaurant space.
Okay, can you, I'll read it again. I'm getting kind of
That's all right, you're
conflicting
getting,
messages.
yeah, you're getting
So
it
the
from all
finance
sides.
committee recommends to acknowledge that RWC has a cash available to spend $625,000 on tenant improvement from the capital fund, and that's where I lost it.
I think we
For
need
the
to
restaurant, for Creekside,
For improvements at the Creekside Restaurant, lowercase restaurant,
Lowercase star, yeah.
to be paid from the capital fund. So, can you read again?
absolutely. Acknowledges the RWC has a cash available to spend $625,000 on tenant improvement from the capital fund for improvements for the restaurant at Creekside.
Okay,
Are you okay with that
I'm
motion?
okay with that. That's
Are you
my
still
motion.
second?
That's what I said right at the beginning. Why people don't hear what I say.
Any further discussion? If not, we'll take a roll call vote.
Certainly. Ring,
Yes.
Star,
Yes.
Castile,
Yes.
Hines,
Still no.
Hines, Jennings,
Yes.
and Byram.
Yes.
It carries.
Okay. Are we doing ERM today?
We can.
Do we have to?
We don't have to.
Have to?
Can I say that out loud?
You can review it further and we can discuss it at your next meeting if you'd like.
But I
Okay,
have,
so,
go ahead,
oh, I'm
go
sorry.
first.
I have a question. What are we supposed to comment on this or do you, what's your expectation for?
So
the
as
committee?
we've gone through this with the planning committee and the audit committee now, what we're looking for is comments either on if there's areas that we're missing that you see as additional risk factors that we should be adding and adding action steps to. If you see that there are amendments to the status or to the potential impacts or proposed actions, we can add those. This is something that we kind of use as we do our long-term planning, especially in the form of, where do we need to put our expenditures in focus. So it's a valuable tool, but if you'd like to kind of absorb it a few weeks and then come back and at your next meeting, talk about it. If there's new projects or new risk factors that you see, or some that can't come off that you don't think are no longer relevant.
Has everyone reviewed it?
Honestly, no,
Okay,
not
so
in detail.
So, David, you're the only one who's done their homework, it looks like. Can we postpone?
No, I'm a new guy, so I'm.
Yeah,
trying to read this
but I'd
stuff.
like to postpone.
No,
I'm trying to read it.
I'd like to
Okay.
postpone the discussion until December.
But you had a
Okay.
question. But
No,
you had a
okay,
question.
I just have a question.
Go ahead, generic
Yeah.
question.
My question is this. These are all very, very important. I think they're listed as
Right.
really substantial to the performance of what we're all trying to accomplish here. And if I look at the one on page 6, it says the owner for this one is risk capital availability, lack of affordable capital to fund non-discretionary projects. The owner is the CFO with the GM, and the owner is the CFO with GM. And on page 2, at the bottom, it says the responsibility for updating and maintaining the plan lies with senior management team in consultation with the appropriate department heads and the board. So my thought is, just as an idea or whatever, I like the idea of saying somebody is the owner of this particular risk category. And would it be helpful if we could think about each of these risk categories and maybe nominate or at least put on paper that somebody really feels like this is one of the things they really have to focus on as another owner. So I'm just throwing that out as a.
I'm not sure. So it says,
So I like when you have something to do,
you want a name associated.
You want to
a name or
sign
a
it.
committee or somebody, something, not
problem-
just a.
The problem with putting a name is names change.
Yeah, I don't want to put a name in.
Okay, title.
That's like, but I
CFO.
think that Yeah, if there's some that are strictly a financial thing, maybe it should be that the CFO in conjunction with the finance committee or something, I don't know. But I'm just saying, one of these, I like to have ownership for major things.
Yeah,
And if
that's a
you
good
could
point.
try to define any kind of an ownership, that would be, in my mind.
Well, as we go through, as we read through them and get ready to discuss these in December, we should keep that comment in mind.
Yeah, if you can
That's fine.
add that
That's
to
fine.
the paperwork, I think it'd be great. 'Cause
That's
then you
good.
could go to.
So
say,
as you go
"What
through
do you-"
them-
Yeah, I got an idea. I want to go to the owner and tell him what I'm thinking.
Yep, so let's go, as you go through it, write down who you think the ownership, you can do that.
Okay.
That
So
would
we'll
be good.
put, everyone okay with
One
postponing?
more question?
These are not listed by priority, right? They're
No.
just a random list.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right,
If
so-
you have questions as you start to go through it, please don't hesitate to shoot them to me.
Okay, sure.
Okay, so we're gonna postpone that till December 2nd, which is our next meeting. Anything else? If not, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Yeah.